When you first read the script for Pacific Rim, how much did your eyes light up when you saw the legendary cancelling the apocalypse speech?
The legendary. Well, I remember reading it and thinking, wow, that has to be delivered. It felt like a lot of pressure on that line. Thomas Tull, who's the president of Legendary, he said to me, "That is my favourite line. That is my favourite line. Can't wait for you to say that."
And you knew it'd be in the trailer straight away.
I did know it was in the trailer. Yeah, I knew it'd be there because it is kind of is the one tagline for the film, isn't it? Tonight, yeah.
Now your character Stacker, he has quite an emotive backstory that comes out throughout the course of the film. I was just wondering, did you work at all in his background with like Guillermo or any of the other writers on the film?
Yeah, the background story actually for Stacker is quite deep and long-rooted and set in history. And in the script, the character was called Sensei. It was called Sensei before it was called Stacker. And I remember knowing that Guillermo had written me this long sort of thesis on who Stacker was and where he came from and the type of person he was, and also the mechanics behind the army and how he got drafted in and all that stuff. So it was all really rich stuff.
Now, how horrendous was the costume and the helmet you had to wear, especially when in those cross-trainer style devices in the pods?
It was pretty tough work, man. They're not the most comfortable uniforms in the world. They take about 40 minutes to get on and off. And then you're strapped into that con pod and you're battling away. It was no fun, but I think in the end it just looked so spectacular that you knew it was going to, that it worked.
Now, what makes Guillermo del Toro stand out from so many directors of his generation?
I think it's his boyishness and his sort of, he has this imagination, which some of the great younger directors in his generation have too, but his is so well steeped in film. He has a boyish imagination, but he knows how to transform that into a real film. Last night, it was like watching one of the great top sci-fi films in the world. The reason why, because you felt like you was in an experience. You just will never forget that experience, good or bad.
When you type your name into Google, the whole predictive thing that comes up.
No.
Well, you type your name Idris Elba into Google,
okay,
and straight afterwards, the name James Bond comes up.
Oh.
Which is obviously nothing you can control at all, but how do you feel about that association?
Not something that I actually hope for it to come to fruition. It'd be lovely if it did, but it's a rumour, and it's one of those, it's actually like the will of a nation type thing, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not a champion for myself to be James Bond, but there are so many people that say, hey, you'd be a great one, we'd love to see that, you know what I mean? And that's, that's a great feeling for me, because that's such a national treasure for, especially us in England. We love James Bond, have for years, so to be considered one of those actors that could play it is great.